Hello everyone, this is Rebecca Jane from Yoga with Rebecca Jane. Welcome to the first session, which is out of 5 of our flexibility sequence. And this one we're going to be concentrating on our hips. And the reason why I chose the hips is because the hips are the center really of our bodies in terms of our flexibility. We start with that and we can work our way up and we can work our way down. But our hips are notoriously tight, and it's because of how we spend our lives. But it's also as we age, our joints become less lubricated, they become drier. We don't move our hips in the way that little children do, or when we were younger. We kind of change our movement as we get to be probably teenagers, adolescents. And then it gets, over time, we start to lose muscle mass and the hip mobility. So when I talk about flexibility is about hips, is about mobility, but also about obviously elongating the muscles, making them longer and more easier so it's easier to touch your toes, and it's easier to put your arms up and get something out of a cupboard. But it's also the fountain of youth. So if you ever ask, well, what's the fountain of youth? I'm looking for the fountain of youth. You might want to look in a bottle, you might go traveling, look for the fountain of youth there. The actual fountain of youth is in yourself, and it's keeping your body in this flexible state, whether it's elongating the muscles, stretching out the muscles and the fascia, and it's also our mobility of our shoulders, our hips, ankles, wrists, neck. So today we will be concentrating on the hips. So let's start sitting up nice and tall, and find that seat. This is called an easy seat. I'm going to switch my cross so I can change my, because if you keep doing the same cross, you find that one hip is less stiff than the other. So try to change things up so that your body is a little bit more synchronized. There's or symmetry to your body. Let's lift up tall. Let's feel the spine. Let's take the shoulders, lift them up towards your ears and roll them back. And then close the eyes just for a moment as we connect with our breath. Just take these first few moments, just begin to deepen the breath, coming into your Ujjayi breath. The breath as it fills your rib cage, and as you exhale, as the belly pulls in and the pelvic floor pulls up. Let's do one more breath in. And then exhale, pull the pelvic floor up as if you're trying to prevent yourself from peeing, and then pull your belly in. They're very tiny movements. And then gently open your eyes. Let's begin simply by lifting the shoulders up and rolling them back. And then inhale, lift and roll them back. So we're going to be working with passive stretches and dynamic stretches. Dynamic is exactly what we're doing now. We're creating movement, we're getting our joints lubricated, so it's more of that's where flow is important, because that's a dynamic stretch. Let's go forward with the shoulders, inhale up and then round. A few more times. And then the passive stretches are the ones you hold, and those go deeper into the fascia, beyond just the muscles, but the fascia. Let's lift up and let's just take our arms out to the sides as if we were holding onto something in our hands. The palms are facing up. And I want you to just flip the palms down and then flip the palms up. But not just the wrists, include the shoulders. Feel the work of the shoulders beginning to move a little bit more easier after you do a few of these. And then let's take the hands, float them down, bring the hands behind your back. Let's do a little bit of an opening of the chest. And let the soles of the feet now slide together, coming into Baddha Konasana. You don't have to stay on your cushion or your seat if you don't want. On your, if you're on a block. But if you want to stay on it, just let the knees open wide. Your hands are reaching back behind you, either on the fingertips or flat on the ground. And I want you to lean back and open up the chest. Passive stretching here, holding, but as you breathe in, there's a slight tensing of the body, a lengthening of the spine, and as you exhale, you lift and you go deeper into the stretch. Knees are a little bit further apart, a little bit further down. Press into the soles of the feet, and then let's lift up. And that's actually, if you are on something, just slide off. And then slide the feet closer to you, and then place the hands, cradle them underneath your feet. And then let your knees, inhale the knees up, and then exhale the knees down. Little butterfly. These are butterfly stretches. Inhale, lift up, and exhale down. Let's do another 5. And I want you, if you're able to, close the eyes and just pay attention to how it feels when you're inhaling and the knees lift. What part of your body experiences that stretch? And as you exhale, lower the knees down. What happens there? Just an observation. Inhaling and exhaling. And one more time, lift the knees up. And this time, press the knees down as you exhale and take your hands from underneath your feet. Bring them in front of you and fold over. So stretch out the full length of your spine. The back, the lower back, the middle back, upper back, shoulders, neck. Passive stretch. Take a breath in and take a breath out. So we will, throughout the sessions, practice touching our toes, but not today. Today is the hips are the key to our flexibility, is concentrating on that. So lift back up and just take your hands, place them on the outside of the knees and bring your feet forward. Let's fold over our legs. Let's stretch out the backs of the legs now. And do a little bit of a movement, a little dynamic knee, alternating knees, bending and straightening. Just getting into those joints, loosening them up, warming them up, heating them up. And then either the knees are bent or slightly bent or semi-straight, come all the way down, come into a forward bend. Let the feet flex here with the heels slightly off the ground, and take a few breaths here. Take a breath in and drop your chin to your chest as you exhale. Inhale a slight lift up, pick your chin up, looking towards your toes, and exhale, bring your chin in towards your chest. Inhale, lift up halfway, and then exhale, lower down, and let yourself hold the stretch without tugging on the feet. Just let yourself be here, but the breath continues. Inhaling, use your breath to go deeper into the stretch. Exhalation. So as we stretch the muscle fibers, the fascia, the connective tissue, all the things that are underneath, and the skin. We're also stretching out the skin. Let's lift up nice and tall. Let's come onto our forearms. Let's place the feet flat on the ground, knees pointing up. Open the feet about as wide as the mat. I'll kind of scoot over here so you can see what it will look like. I want you to drop your knees to the right. Feel the hip lift up, and I want you to lift your hip up, the left hip, and then bring the knees back up towards the ceiling and exhale to the left. Lift your right hip up. And we're going to go a little faster here. This is dynamic stretching, right? Exhale, inhale back to center, exhale to the other side. 3 more sets at your own pace. You can stay down on your forearms if you like, or you can come up onto your straight arms if that feels better for you. Loosening up these hip joints. And then one more time to the right, and then walk yourself now back up. Okay, take your left leg, bring it back behind you into a, excuse me, a 90-degree angle. Right foot up into a 90-degree angle. This is a figure 4. So we're in a pigeon shape, a variation of a pigeon. I want you to take your left hand, place it on your left hip, twist towards that right knee, and take an inhale, then exhale. Walk your hands forward in front of the shin or on a diagonal in line with the knee. Lower your elbows down. Take a few breaths here. Bring your left foot back a little, left knee back a little bit more if you'd like to feel that hip flexor working. And explore bringing those arms back towards behind you a little bit more in line with the right knee, or maybe eventually in line with your right thigh. And the little twist here, so feeling some of the sensation, and you might not feel much, but you are doing something right here. And then take an inhale, lift back up, stay in this shape with your legs, don't change anything. Hands on the ground, one neck, framing that left leg. So the left framing that right, the right hand is outside of your right thigh. And I want you to keep your left knee glued to the ground and just pick up that left foot. So now we're working, you're going to feel the stretch and the strengthening of your glute muscles, your left glute muscles. If your foot does not come off the ground at all, just pretend it does. You just go as far, just by thinking it does, will contract that muscle. So lift up, you should feel lots of things happening all the way up the back of the leg. If that hurts, you have sciatica, keep the foot down. Don't do this. Lift up and then twist around for a moment. Bring that right foot, the top foot back into the top of that left thigh, and just a gentle twist. You could even bring that left foot back in and twist to the left. So this should feel nice on your hip joints, right? And then come back to center. Take your hands back on the ground. Open the feet wide. This time keep your hands on the ground with the fingers pointing back. And let's go to the right again. Inhale back up to the left. And then inhale back up, then to the right. And we'll inhale back up, this time to the left, and we stay here. So the opposite of what you just did. So come on to the opposite and slide your right leg back, 90-degree angle, flex that back foot, left foot at a 90-degree angle, or slightly closer in if you find that this is it's hurting your hips. You don't want it to hurt. Take your hands, place them in front of that right shin, or walk the hands over so that it's in line with your left knee on a diagonal. Flex both feet and lower yourself down. Maybe forearms, maybe not. And take your right hip and just press it slightly down and stretch out that right side. You might have the flexibility in your hips to go further without moving your legs at all. Keep the legs glued to the ground. There's nothing moving in your legs. It's just from your waist upwards. So take 2 more breaths here. Inhaling and exhaling. And then walk your hands back around. And then frame your left leg with your hands. Keep your right knee glued to the ground. Just lift that right foot up. So it's the foot and it's the calf. Lift up and down. Or you just energetically lift it. So you should be feeling lots of activity all the way up this leg. Strengthening the knee joint and the right and the calf, especially the right side. So let's do 2 more here. And then sit up tall. To bring your left foot in towards that right thigh, bring that right foot in a little bit closer, and we're going to just gently stretch to the right. This is called mermaid legs. And then let's find our way gracefully onto our hands and knees. This time let our legs just stay at hip distance. Press into your child's pose. Stretch your arms forward, forehead resting on the ground. With the arms extending, elbows off the ground, spread those fingers. Just taking a moment here. Then inhaling into your tabletop. And stay in your tabletop, but walk your hands a little further forward. Hips are over knees, and we're going to just simply rock forward and backwards. We're not going to dip our pubic bone to the ground. Just keep your spine neutral. You just come back towards those heels and then forward. Just to loosen up, you'll feel some core, some belly work happening here, so a little bit of strengthening. It's nice to kind of loosen up these hip joints in this direction, forward and backward. If you feel any pain in some of these stretches, then stop doing them. But there might be a little discomfort. Let's come back to neutral, and let's bring your left leg up and flex that left foot so it's bent. Your left leg is bent, and it's at a 90-degree angle. And now what we're going to do is we're going to circle the leg around. I don't care which direction you started. Let's do 3 times in one direction, 3 times in the other. And let's go, and then if you're ready for the other side, just the opposite circle. Circle, circle, circle. How does this feel? These are all questions you want to ask yourself. Does this hurt my hip? If it does, what's happening? You might have arthritis, you might have something else happening. Just press back towards your heels. Actually, keep your toes curled under, press back towards your heels, and press into the into the heels of the hands. The toes are stretching now. You're stretching out your toes and the whole foot, including the arch. And then inhale back up. Flatten out the tops of the feet, and then bring your right leg up into that 90-degree angle. Kick that right heel up to the ceiling. And then circle it around. Start in one direction, 3 times in one direction, then 3 times in the other. So think about this. How often do we do this during the day? Go in the opposite direction? We don't. Most of us never do these types of circles in our everyday activities or the movement that we do. We might run, we might walk. But how often do we circle we don't. We don't circle our hips. And the problem is our joints end up getting quite very stiff. Let's curl the toes under, downward dog. Let's stretch out the legs. If you need a little break with your hands, you can come back to those hands and knees and just do a little circle of the wrists. So let's bend and straighten. Come back into that dynamic stretch, which is the movement, the bending and straightening of the legs. Incorporating the hip joints, and also it's connected to your knees, obviously. You're bending your knees, your heels, your waist, your shoulders. Then coming back to stillness. Bring your left foot in towards that right foot. You can do this from your hands and knees if you'd like. Inhale that right leg up to the sky. And exhale, bring your right knee into the center of your body until it's about where your tummy is, maybe a little further. And bring your forehead towards your chin. And then step your right foot between your hands. And then lower your left knee down. coming into your lunge. So hip opener here. Now if you couldn't get your foot forward, we will be working on that throughout the week on how to do that, whether it's from the downward dog. Or if you can never do it from a downward dog, then how do you do that from your hands and knees? So you're in your lunge. I want you to take your tailbone, lengthen it down. Make sure your ankle and your knees are in line with one another. Shoulders are soft. You're lifting up. Take a breath in and your tailbone rests and you're leaning slightly forward but still lifting up at the same time. And you're pushing into both legs evenly. So lots of stretching. Now this is a passive stretch. You're stretching out now many different places on your legs, but it's especially your hip flexors. And you're holding it and you're breathing in and out. And then take your hands, lower them to the ground. Let's stretch over that right leg, flex that right foot, just to give you an alternate counter stretch. Folding over that right leg, and maybe flexing the foot, and then coming back and rebending, and then curling the back toes under, downward dog. Or, there's an or, extended child's pose with the toes curled under. Either from extended child's pose or from your downward dog. Let's inhale your left leg up to the sky, and let's sweep your left knee to the center of your body. Lift onto those toes and then step your left foot between your hands. Was it able to come to between the hands, or did it get stuck in the middle, between halfway? Most of the time it gets stuck there for most of us. So it's something we're working on, and you'll understand it as we progress through the next 5 days. It has a lot to do with flexibility and strength, but lots to do with flexibility. If you have tummies, some of us have tummies that kind of get in the way, or we have big breasts that get in the way, what you might do is bring your left leg over to the left side a little bit, pick that left hand up as opposed to straight, to step it forward. Lower your right knee down, come up nice and tall, lift up into a 90-degree angle with your left knee and ankle. Lower your tailbone down, so extend it down, and then lean forward, pressing into both the foot of the left foot and the right shin evenly. Soften the shoulders down. I have to keep reminding myself too, because it's instinct. That's what it is. Inhale, lift back up. Take your hands, frame your left foot, and just fold over your left leg. Countering. You don't have to go crazy here, making sure it's straight. It's just a gentle stretch to help kind of flush out all the accumulated tension that you've built up in those hips when you hold stretches. Let's rebend your left knee. Let's curl the back toes under. Let's step back into your downward dog, and let's lower the knees to the ground and come onto your right hip. And swing your legs around. And then lower yourself onto your back. So I'm going to I have to just pick up okay. Lying on your back. I had to pick up my timer. We would have been over time. So on your back, hug your knees into your chest. Little rocks from side to side. Take your hands inside your right foot. Let's go into happy baby. Knees are on the outside of your shoulders, inside the feet or outside the feet, or on the ankles, or if that doesn't work for you, bring your arms behind your knees. Some of us are not able to reach our feet, or we reach it, it doesn't point, it's not, they don't point up towards the ceiling. You want the soles of the feet pointing upwards. And you're in your happy baby. Now you can make it more dynamic by rocking from side to side. which babies do. You can straighten the bottom leg or the top leg and go forward and backwards, alternating between straightening and bending. Or you can hold it in a passive static stretch. But as you breathe, you are going to breathe in, and you're going to lower. As you breathe out, that tailbone presses into the earth. And then inhale. So you can choose, you can alternate between passive and dynamic. Children, babies, this is how they learn how to walk. They practice in these poses. That's why this is called baby pose. We don't do this as adults anymore because we've learned how to walk. But what this does is it kind of gets our hips back into a kind of youthful state as they were, or close to where they were as children. Not quite the same, but almost, semi, maybe halfway there. Let's bring the knees back into your chest, hug them, hug them, hug them, and then open the arms out to the sides, take your legs, drop them to the left, lower them down, turn your gaze to the right. You can, if you want to add a little extra stretch, hamstring stretch, you can straighten that right leg. You might want a little bit of a hamstring stretch. Tomorrow, the next session in our flexibility series we'll be stretching out the legs, working on our legs. So we're working away from the hips downward. And then bring that knee back in, hug your knee into your chest again. And maybe forehead to your knees, and then open up the arms, and then drop your knees to the right. And once the knees are settled on the right side, you might want a hamstring stretch to straighten your left leg. Or not. Turn your gaze to the left. I will guarantee after this class you might feel achy, but you might also feel more open and free and actually in a better mood because you've released a lot of also pent-up energy and feelings. So let's prepare for our Shavasana. Take your left foot to the left corner, right to the right corner. Let the arms float out to the sides a few inches. Palms facing up. Let yourself settle here for about 2 to 5 minutes. I will slowly come out myself, but you stay in your Shavasana. As I come out, just to seal the practice so that you can continue on just resting. This is an opportunity to let yourself rest and also your body has a chance to assimilate everything that we've just done. And when you do finally come back into your easy seat, the cross-legged seat. As I bring my hands in front of my heart as a gesture of gratitude, compassion, and love, that this practice is not just about us, but it's also for all beings. So we benefit, but so do all beings, because we feel better. When we feel better, we treat the world differently. We engage with the world differently. Have a wonderful, wonderful rest of the day. Namaste, or if it's evening, have a great evening. This is Rebecca Jane from Yoga with Rebecca Jane. If you're a YouTuber, please subscribe, comment, give me a thumbs up. And if you'd like more of these, or you'd like to experience this live, join me on my website at yogawithrebeccajane.com and check out the classes. I'll see you soon. Namaste, everyone.